a lot of job seekers are turning to ChatGPT, Gemini, etc. They're asking the question, what's it like to work at this company? And what that really means for companies is your employer storytelling now has to be AI readable, not just human readable.
Hello, and welcome to Hire We Go, where we're chatting all things talent acquisition transformation. Whether you're an HR vet or someone who's simply fascinated by how to find, attract, and engage talent, you are certainly in the right place. I'm your host, Ashley Collins, Director of Solutions here at Joveo, and joining me today are Amanda Thompson Buffington and Carrie Corbin, co-founders of Hope Leigh Marketing Group. Thank you so much for joining us today, Carrie and Amanda. Why don't we kick things off by you both telling us a little bit more about yourself and about Hope Leigh?
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having us, Ashley. Carrie and I started Hope Leigh Marketing Group 6 years ago. Can't believe it's been that long. And when we started this agency, we recognized that most agencies really kind of pick a lane. It's either employer brand with the side of recruitment marketing or recruitment marketing with the side of employer brand. And we really built Hope Leigh to connect both end to end with strategy really leading it all. So with Carrie's practitioner experience at multiple, large global brands and my experience on the vendor and agency side of the business, we're a really great blend of strategy and execution in both recruitment marketing and employer branding efforts for our clients.
Love that. Carrie, anything you wanted to add to that?
Oh, I'm just used to Amanda doing my intro for me on all of her calls. So
she doesn't like doing her intros. She needs like intro music.
Oh, I love that. I can respect that, though.
She doesn't like to talk about herself, Ashley.
Oh, I know. Humble as ever. I love it. I know we had talked about like a couple of different topics that we could deep dive in the few minutes that we have together today. Keen to get your perspective on how you think candidate behavior has changed practically with the entrance of AI in such a grand way.
So there's lots of different directions that we can take this, but I think the biggest shift is how candidates are getting information, right? They are used to visiting your career site, reading reviews, looking at LinkedIn, opening job posts, and piecing the story together, right? Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of job seekers are turning to ChatGPT, Gemini, etc. They're asking the question, hey, what's it like to work at this company? And they're getting one synthesized answer, and one AI summary is now replacing, right, that long chain of candidate touch points. And what that really means for companies is your employer storytelling now has to be AI readable, not just human readable. And so it means we need to think differently around how we're presenting information, right? Yeah. We've seen survey data that's actually showing that roughly like 35 to 40% of job seekers have used AI in job search, and about 12% right now, specifically to research employers. So it's not like, there's plenty of opportunity, right, for companies to catch up and get in front of this. It's just starting, but we know that it's going to continue to increase, right? It's that what we call the consumerization of the job seeker. Job seekers are still still consumers. They're going to put as much work into looking for a job or more, right? It's an emotional, life-changing decision as much as they're putting into going to Yelp and Google looking for where they're going to go to dinner, right? So it's like we've got to make sure that we're caring for how they find the information.
Absolutely. And that kind of leads into, a topic around, employer brand perception, right? So we have to rethink the stories that we're telling. How do you think that, AI is already shaping employer brand perception? And like you said, without companies really even realizing it.
Amanda, you want to take this one?
Sure. So, really right now, AI is aggregating your entire employer footprint, right? So it's going to pull from your career site, job descriptions, LinkedIn, Glassdoor, social content, multiple places. So your employer brand is being rewritten right now, whether you're actively managing it or not. So candidates are going to scan the market. They're going to ask AI who's worth knowing. And if the AI tools cannot find you and your brand, then you're not going to even be findable, right? So when a candidate is asking what it's like to work somewhere, AI is going to synthesize it from all of those different places. And you're not really asking permission, right? It's just going to do it.
Yeah.
So the answer is really already set. It's really the only question is whether you like how you show up. So if you're not liking how you show up, then that brand perception, you've got some work to do.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so how should teams rethink their messaging so it actually works in this AI-driven world?
Carrie?
Well, they're still writing for human readers, right? And that's one of the first things that we have to think about, just who our audience is. And our audience is no longer just the job seeker. It's AI that is informing the job seeker. And companies also, and rightly so, put a heavy focus on their career site, but they don't always spend the time necessary on curating their external brand presence, right? But ultimately, what AI needs is content that is clear, extractable, and self-contained, right? So most companies they're still, and this is not meant to be all companies, most companies kind of bashing session, right? This is our behavior and conditioning and what we've learned and been taught over many years, right? But we're still treating employer brand like polish and being creative and, aesthetically pleasing with design and, telling a good story. And storytelling is great, but like one of the big things that companies do is kind of imply culture, right? But they don't make it explicit. You've got to state it, right? And AI is much better with explicit facts than with polished suggestions. AI rewards that repetition of core truths, of things that can be validated externally. They actually see your career site as biased because it's curated by you. So AI wants to see those different places, Reddit, Glassdoor, where other people are talking about your brand, or PR and awards, things that are going to validate what you're saying about yourself. So there's no more of this just speaking about, hey, how we have a great culture and implying that. It's being very specific with managers are trained to give weekly feedback, right? And setting expectations and telling so that people understand, essentially the difference between what is fuzzy storytelling versus what is usable from an AI perspective. AI can't infer your culture from vibes. So the good writing still matters. But, in AI search, it has to be readable and it has to be retrievable.
That is such a powerful point. And we see this, very important channels like Reddit being completely overlooked in the strategy because it's being seen as an advertising outlet instead of something that is training how the AI views you and how it pulls information in. So glad you brought that up. And I think that we've got so much work to do in retraining our brains for how we really think about this. So thank you so much for offering us a quick glimpse into the tremendous knowledge that both of you hold. I hope that you as listeners were able to bring something forward into your day that you can start to put to use right now to get more out of your work. And I'll chat with you next time.